I want to be clear when I say this. I have never been anti-Catholic. I'm a Christian. I don't judge people. If I do judge people, I don't judge their soul. I simply judge whether I think they're trustworthy and good people or not. And it was Christ who said, you judge a tree by its fruits. And the Catholics I've known throughout my life are hardworking, trustworthy, good, fun people who stand up against abortion, who stand up against globalism, who stand up against tyranny. In fact, I've got to say, probably half the people at the grassroots that I knew in Austin fighting gun control, land grabs, abortion, were Catholics. So I turned around, I had a pretty good view of Catholics because of that. So I'm not judging the Catholic people because I judge a tree by its fruits. Past popes basically sounded about 100 degrees different. Not 180, but about 100 degrees. About 60% different than this current pope. So you've got to either say, if you're a good Catholic out there, to use that famous term, were the last 3 or 4 popes or 5 popes or 10 popes, were they bad, or is this guy good? Because this guy is massively different than classical Catholic doctrine. And I'm not a Catholic, but I've looked at it, I've researched it. I mean, the last few popes were, at least on the surface, anti-communist. This guy goes to the main square under the Che Guevara statue and is, presented with crucifix from Raul Castro, who will put you in jail if you're a Christian in Cuba. They've arrested a whole bunch of people as well. And there's no criticism from him of the crushing of free speech. Then he says you shouldn't have a car, you shouldn't have air conditioning. We heard that from Obama when he went to Africa. He says that. So this is a guy about being poor. This is a guy about austerity. This is a guy about Agenda 21 that is a plan to impoverish the world, to make us politically controllable for social engineering on the surface of the treaty. This is all admitted. And he sells it as if it's Christ-like, Christ being humble. Well, the Bible also talks about following God's commandments and being prosperous so you can be self-sufficient and help other people. So it is a communist liberation theology Ford Foundation program, about 100 years old, created by the Jesuits, picked up by the Ford Foundation, on record, that has financed communism all over the world. And we have a above-the-law Jesuit pope promoting classical, hardcore communism while he pushes the EU superstate and doesn't say a word against that. And now he's pushing carbon taxes and world government. He's here getting D.C. lined up in September. Then he goes to Africa and other countries, and then he's going to Europe in December to sell a planetary expansion of the EU and open world government. So this pope, by every yardstick, even if he isn't the false prophet of Revelations and Daniel and Ezekiel, he fits the bill. I mean, like a key goes in a lock and the door opens. I mean, this key opens the door. So if he's not the devil's henchman, he sure is trying. And you'd have to be blind not to see that whether you believe in the devil or not, what this guy's doing is manifesting what's in Revelation. So he's following it as a blueprint, at least, bare minimum. I mean, it's happening. You can't deny. I've been sitting there arguing with atheists before about Skull and Bones, Bohemian Grove, and Satan worship. They go, well, I don't believe in the devil. And I go, fine, I get you don't believe in spiritualism or anything above your senses. I understand you think you're following the scientific method there, even though Einstein and folks said it made them believe in God the more he learned. What I'm saying to you is, are there pygmies in New Guinea, or are there, pygmies are in Central Africa, are there islanders in New Guinea that kill people and shrink their heads? The answer is yes. Doesn't mean you believe in head shrinking. It's going on. Like, did the Aztecs cut people's hearts out? Yes, they did. Doesn't mean you don't believe in their god, the flying serpent. The point is, did they do it? Yes, they did it. So that's the issue here. this is world government. This is occultism. This is a takeover. This is one world religion being pushed by this papa. And it's unprecedented. I mean, look at these headlines. Dissidents arrested as Pope Francis celebrates his first mass in Cuba. Pope Francis is wrong about air conditioning. National Review wants it basically banned. Pope visit will produce largest security operation in U.S. history. Washington Post. Why? Why? Pay for it yourself with all the trillions you've got. Or you're a man of the people. We don't need this giant, half the city shut down, huge circuses, Pope mobiles, all of it. No. We have a separation of church and state. There should not be any federal funding to protect this guy. And I don't mean him any harm. It's just a joke. This filthy rich guy that lectures me that I got air conditioning and that I want my employees to get paid more and that I want prosperity tells me I'm a devil as he pushes Rockefeller eugenics garbage. I mean, I wish this Pope would crawl back to his communist Jesuit seminary that he crawled out from under. Get out of my country. You're not my king. I myself cannot believe how angry I get at this Pope. But I'm telling you, no more Mr. Nice Guy. To have a foreign head of state who's tax exempt lecture me that I shouldn't go on vacations or have a car or air conditioning and tell me I'm not a good Christian if I don't, and we should basically not go after people that have abortions or not criticize it, and that world government's a good idea when I know it's part of the larger evil planetary agenda. He's got the mainstream media backing him, saying how great he is, when you notice the mainstream media was savagely attacking the Catholic Church at every angle until this point to blackmail the church that had its own problems that we exposed into going along with the agenda. And you can search Catholic Church blackmailed, pedophile scandal, Ratzinger. You'll get London Guardian and other publications from 3 years ago, right before the old Pope ran off to Gandalf Castle. I'm not kidding. It's called Gandalf. Lord of the Rings got that name from it, not the other way around. And he runs off to Gandalf Castle, and they put in this new guy. We should be discussing the fact that the Vatican is now run by globalists 100%. There's the headline, London Guardian. They found it quick. Papal resignation linked to inquiry into Vatican gay officials. Blackmail or corruption. Catholics respond to the Vatican's gay lobby. Al Jazeera. And so they blackmailed the church by having their people infiltrate it, set up their operations, just like Congress, just like Sandusky and Penn State, until it's so evil, it's so big, it's so horrible that it's too big to fail. And then it just gets absorbed and starts promoting world government openly. And clearly the Catholic Church has been degenerating and rotting and falling apart for a long time. Catholics are always mad at me for saying it's just now being taken over. I'm not a Catholic scholar. Compared to the general public, I mean, I'm a rocket scientist. I mean, I've studied it quite a bit, but not compared to devout conservative Catholics. I understand that. But, I mean, it's now just incredibly obvious. It's incredibly insane. And I get mad when Obama or Bush would shut down half of Austin or half of Dallas. Or Clinton getting a haircut. Remember back then having all the air traffic stop for an hour? They're talking about shutting airports down. You know, when the Saudi king goes to France, they'll shut down 20 miles of the south of France so he doesn't have to see anybody on the beach. For him and his family up and down the coast. That's sick to shut down public beaches so some degenerate scumbag like the Saudi king. I'm sick of the Pope and the Saudi king and the Queen of England and just all of these anachronisms, all of these jokes. Brain Force is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been on this the last few months. You probably noticed I've been more crazed, more focused, less brain fog, more energy, more special reports, and it's because of Brain Force.
We kept changing this formula over and over and over again until it became sort of a grand puzzle. For example, the L-theanine inside of it, that is activated by the different compounds in the yerba mate that we put inside of it as well. This just increases the compounds you already have.
This is what you're actually designed to run on.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a car will run on one form of junkie gas, but it runs really good on what it's designed for.
And that's the principle of InfoWars Life, as far as I understand, that you've always had, is that it's not about synthetic chemicals and forcing actions. It's about letting your body do its own thing and giving your body the tools it needs to create these different compounds that are super valuable and super beneficial.
You will find Brain Force and other game-changing products at InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.